The story opens in a luxurious hotel named St. Duke Bao. Our main character is currently sitting in the toilet playing with his smartphone. Through the content of the message, it seems that the young man has just been dumped by his girlfriend. Looking at the phone screen, he was stunned because he couldn't believe that after 10,000 years, he finally returned from another world to that time. Remember when Lam Tay-Tay's girlfriend got the young master Truong Quang kicked him out, but unexpectedly she was pregnant with his child. After knowing Truong Quang's name, he immediately ordered someone to kill him. After death, the main character goes to another world and is lucky to have the 9 heavens divine stone cultivation level, which greatly increases his cultivation and breaks through to Than Quan Din Fong. After that, he claimed to be a 1,000-year-old tyrant in the other world, but his cultivation could not increase. In the end, when he was going through the tribulation, his heart demon reacted and he failed, causing his spirit to disappear. But his fate was not over yet. A single ray of his soul defied heaven and changed fate, reversed time and space and returned to Earth. So not only did he return to the beginning, but importantly, he also brought back the 9 heavens divine stone, so he could definitely start over. After thinking about all the ostriches, the young man realized that he had used up all the toilet paper. Outside, Truong Quang and Lam Tai-Tai are still playing pickleball. I made an appointment with you to play pickleball. The main character wonders what kind of love potion he ate in his previous life that he fell for this kind of woman. He sat opposite the other 2 people on the table. There were 3 stacks of money. Lam Tai-Tai said, "You are not worthy, quickly take that 30,000 and then get out of their sight." This woman was always cold to him before, but now she's flirting with that Truong Quang guy, making him feel scared. She also flexed the diamond ring that the other guy bought for her, but the main character just sneered. Live again, he doesn't bother to compare with them. From this moment on, they in his eyes are just insects. Truong Quang saw that his attitude was more crazy than his name, so he angrily slammed the table. "I ask you to apologize to my baby Tay-Tai." The little brother, not knowing whether he was smelly or not, was tall, and dark puffed out his chest and walked towards him, repeating what their boss had said. But the main character didn't accept the money. He even wished the 2 of them to grow old with white hair and never close their eyes. Then Tiu Sai turned around and left. Truong Quang, of course, did not let him leave easily. He ordered his juniors to hold him back. He made him kneel down and apologize, then licked his thick skin clean. He was in a good mood and could let him go. The dog bites in packs, so he also joins in. The main character didn't intend to argue with them, but they forced him to squeeze more than oranges, so he couldn't let it go, even if he wanted to. Truong Quang is probably a die-hard fan of Taekong, so he scratched his neck a few times and got a giant hateful thing to feed to Main. As long as there is money, even the hatred of the rich becomes wonderful in the eyes of Lam Tai-Tai. Main clenched his hand, then let go. He wanted to coax them a little but changed his mind because they were not qualified for him to do anything. Angry black guy wants to kill main character, but when I put my hand on his shoulder, was glared at with murderous eyes and had to back away. Truong Quang and Lam Tai-Tai found that look really scary, but she thought he was still a useless young man. Looking at his arrogant appearance, she couldn't help but want to fight with Main. Truong Quang stood up and shouted loudly after being stimulated by his lover. Today he will end it right here. But as soon as he walked, his foot slipped and he fell face first onto the ground. Hate also flies away. The other girl hurriedly ran to ask and care about all kinds of ostriches, but accidentally swallowed that huge lump of hate and fell backwards. Tried to vomit, but it was insignificant and was disgusted and angry because I lost face in front of my ex. She shouted loudly, the story between them is not over yet, and the main character's name is Lam Pham. Lam Pham ignored the couple. Anyway, now he doesn't have any cultivation level left. The urgent matter now is to quickly cultivate and earn money. Being filial to his parents is the right thing to do. It's been thousands of years in another world. He doesn't know if he will cry when he meets his family again. Relive a life you determined to live happily and freely will definitely surpass the cultivation of the previous life to stand at the peak of this vast universe. Thinking of his sister who was often sick due to tuberculosis, he went to the pharmacy. To make up for the biggest regret in his previous life, which was being helpless to see his sister die of illness in this life, the main character went to buy Foti top grade. I only have a little money left, but luckily it's just enough to buy medicine. While waiting for the shop owner, he was lost in his thoughts. After thousands of years of living in the other world, his sister's illness now seemed like a piece of cake in his eyes. Now you only need a polygonum multiflorum root, plus 9 heavenly divine stone, and a high-level cultivation method in your head to be able to use your true energy to help your Chewy circulate smoothly. Maybe you can cure your sister's long-standing illness. After receiving the medicine from the shop owner, Lamb Farm went straight home. But I haven't seen my sister yet. I only saw 3 gangsters coming to ask her to open the door. He glared and asked what they were doing. Hearing her brother's voice from inside the house, a little girl opened the door and ran out with a frightened face. Main character hugs his sister and comforts her. I thought it was someone else, but it turned out to be that useless brother. Lam Pham turned his head and gave them a loving look that scared them to death. I thought he was just scaring me, but his body still unconsciously retreated. After a while, he gritted his teeth, then shouted out loud that he had previously warned the main character to move out within a week, or else don't blame him for being polite. Now Lam Pham just remembered that this house was the place where his parents got married in the past. Now Truong Quang's real estate company wants to develop this place. That guy took the opportunity to find some thugs who often come here to make things difficult, wanting to demolish the house and compensate with a low cost. What a bunch of animals! But what he cares about now is whether they are bullying his sister or not. The little girl pulled her brother's shirt and wanted to leave because she thought the two of them couldn't fight them. He smiled indulgently, patted her head, and asked Diep how those guys bullied her. Because her brother asked, she told him everything. He wanted to take off her clothes but couldn't, and touched her several times. Hearing the dirty answer that he didn't want to happen to his little sister, Lam Pham gritted his teeth and his face turned blue. He used his energy to launch a powerful blow towards the bald guy. He was so scared that his face turned pale as a frog's ass, but where could he run from the rain? This guy was easily pinned down to the ground by the main character. His naughty hand that touched his sister also got kicked to death. He screamed in pain. He was about to scratch his teeth, but he struggled because his mouth hadn't been kissed yet. Already wrong and still talking nonsense, Lam Pham intends to cripple his eyes. The bald head was now afraid and immediately knelt down to beg the boss to forgive him. The 2 men who witnessed the martial arts exchange just now did not dare to say anything. After a little anger, the main character told them to go away. Before leaving, the 3 of them politely apologized for causing so much trouble for the boss. After entering the house, he brought water and asked his sister how many days she had not gone to school. She coughed and wheezed all week because she was so sick these days. In his previous life, his sister was seriously ill, but from beginning to end, he still could not escape the trauma of broken love. Ignoring his sister, who keeps following him around every day, Lam Tay Tay now thinks back and sees that he really isn't the kind of person he is. To make up for the mistakes of his previous life, Lam Pham went to prescribe medicine for his younger sister, Foti. Naive girl asked what it did. He just smiled and told her to turn her back to him without giving an exact answer. Although he didn't understand much, Diep still obediently followed. After a while of tightening her butt muscles and tensing her ass, the girl finally had a little reaction. Seeing that he immediately used more internal energy, the little sister quickly staggered and fell asleep, looking at the girl breathing evenly in his arms. Lam Pham breathed a sigh of relief because in the end, nothing went wrong. Wait until the child wakes up and takes care of her for a while, and this illness will be completely cured. Then he bit his finger until it bled to draw a talisman that normal people could not approach and could prevent all dangers to life. He confirmed that Diep was completely safe at home before leaving. Wandering the streets with only $100 left, the main character thought he had to quickly find a way to earn some money, or else he wouldn't even have rice bran to eat. If you want to use this $100 to recover your capital, there is only one way, which is to gamble. Looking at the splendid city, Lam Pham decided to start a business, using the method of having money without working. This time, the cultivator with the ability to see through the eyes of the gods can be considered as releasing the tiger back into the forest. He went to the casino. The security guard saw a poor young man. He looked down on him, but everyone who came was a customer. He didn't stop him, but gave him a ticket. The poor guy became even poorer. View a wide range of bets, with some naughty black rabbits, but the main character's attention is only focused on the pile of chips on the table. The young man was drooling and fantasizing about the luxurious life he wanted to give his sister. Seeing this table bustling can win a lot of money. Young man money naturally like fly pull chair out to sit, but that scene in the eyes of the cigar-smoking man was just like some random guy who had just escaped from prison. The restaurant staff was speechless, not understanding where this sensible kid came from. The one-eyed guy said this is a VIP pro table, but let's be honest, you're still young and don't understand things, so you should be calculating. The main character's face didn't change color as he opened the cigarette pack and smoked it as if it was the right thing to do. He asked this guy back, "Why are there no more than 10 people who dare sit here?" The guys behind him mocked him for being a country bumpkin who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, because the 3 people sitting here were all influential figures in the demon capital. One of the 3 people sitting at that table had a square face and answered Lamb Farm's question, "Because you are not qualified. Mention the qualifications you put down the pack of cigarettes, because no one has the qualifications to say, in front of the god of destruction, is you." The 3rd person sitting at the table realized that his uncle's internal energy was fluctuating even stronger than before. This was the first time he had seen a young person so strong. The old man smiled and thought that if he could recruit someone to work for him, that would be the best. The qualification to play a game with the 3 of them is to take out 1 million yuan. But Lam Pham still has $100 in his pocket, so where did Dao get $1 million? Hearing that the other 2 laughed loudly. No money yet dare to anger the big guys later, don't know how to die. The female employee sighed and blamed the stupid young man for not letting him in. One eye banged on the table and asked loudly who let the main character in. A man ran up panting like a dog. "He is the manager here." Then he took out his walkie-talkie and called security. Now the old man spoke up. Bao Lam was the person he invited. Then gave out a check for 3 million yuan. The gossipers around did not expect that the young man had Boss Ngui as his protector. The other 2 knew that he was the person that Boss Ngui invited, so they quickly turned around and called him in to play. Looked at them and reached out to take the check with a thank you. Holding 3 million in his hand, the young man confidently said he would pay him back in just 1 game. One Eye calls the dealer to decide to play to the death with the main character. The young man was so busy sniffing the 3 million yuan that he didn't notice the dealer's aggressive face that looked like he had just taken vitamins. She just dealt a bad card with the boss. Ngui will be the biggest. Lam Pham is the second, so let the 2 bet with each other, and in the end he will lose completely. Even though he realized the plot, he still said nothing. Because you have the ability to see through her tricks, you saw through hers a long time ago. God proposes, man proposes. Boss Wei knew his cards were big, but he gave up and didn't follow through. The waitress couldn't believe he had the biggest straight flush at the table, and yet did that. Then Lam Pham's hand was the highest. One-Eyed said his song was very good, so he didn't give up. Let's see if the other 2 dare to follow suit. Lam Pham of course followed, because now his cards are the biggest. No matter what they do, he dares to follow. The one-eyed man knew he didn't have much money, so he made another bet. Squareface knew this guy wanted to play with Lam Pham, so he followed him. Main also bet more, but now don't have enough money. If he loses, then he will let them handle it. People around thought he was looking for death, because how could he win against the big guys? Squareface said flip card. He wants to see your cards. The employee reluctantly came over to open the card and announced that he had lost. Squareface banged. The table stood up angry to the point of grinding teeth. Unexpectedly today, he lost to a kid whose mouth still smelled of milk. The one-eyed man saw that and went crazy betting more. His hand is a pair of J. This guy thinks life and death are destined to be rich or poor, but the main character's halo is something even the heavens can't do anything about. Your hand is all aces of clubs. Wanting to beat you with a pair of jacks is just a big-mouthed idiot. The manager broke out in a sweat and announced that Lam Pham had won 208 million yuan, a game of fortune. Young man dusted his ass and left. But the one-eyed man wouldn't let him go that easily. He guaranteed that he would die an unnatural death on the street tonight. Boss Ngui had to speak up to stop this guy before he would sit down. Main took 3 stacks of money and put them on the table. This is the million you pay him back. He gave him his business card wanting to make friends. You judge this person is not simple. You can live in this Thien-Du area. All are retired government officials. Today you owe him a favor. If you have the chance, you will repay him. He nodded and called a man named Tiu Nin to take him home. The scene changes to Truong Quang and Lam Tai Tai. He still couldn't get over this anger, so he called his senior to deal with Lam Pham. Looking at those two fish sauces, they keep arguing, and it makes my eyes itch. At this time, he was being taken home by Mr. Ngai's men. This guy named Tiu Nin said that his boss is a master, and he needs to learn from him. The young man who was smoking waved his hand modestly, not daring to admit it. Suddenly, a strange number called. The person on the other end of the line told me that someone had beaten me up and told me to take charge of my life. Tiu Min told him to give her that person's address without knowing that person was the main character and was sitting in the car. The caller was Truong Quang. He brought people with him and was blocking Lam Pham's door, but they still didn't dare to enter. I saw that the junior was so cowardly, but I didn't care, because Mr. Nin happened to be taking a customer to that place. He just opened the door and got out of the car when he met Truong Quang's people. He saw you crowing. He called Ansh Nin couldn't help but beat the main character to the ground. Truong Quang and Lam Tai Tai are like shit and ass. If there is this guy, there can't be that girl. Seeing Nin coming, the guy tattled on that the main character hit him. He told Nin you have to lie down and help him. Now the white-haired young man knew that the person he wanted to beat up was the boss's honored guest. Lam Pham was not in a hurry and let Truong Quang finish speaking. The couple still didn't understand the problem and kept barking dirty words at him while praising Mr. Nin. They talk more than the rice-powered cameras in the neighborhood, making your ears itch. Even though Lam Tai still wanted to continue, it was time to take action. Mr. Nin rolled up his sleeves and got ready to get to work right away. He couldn't hold it in any longer. But the one who got hit was of course not the main character, but Truong Quang. 1 slap was passionate, 2 slaps were passionate, 3 slaps were ecstatic, 4 slaps were so intense that he was dizzy. He was knocked down and sat on the ground without understanding why the boss hit him. Mr. Nin cursed him blind for daring to offend Mr. Ngai's honored guest. It seemed he was tired of living. This guy was shocked to know that Lam Pham could hold on to a character of the great elder level like Boss Ngui. He was forced by Mr. Nin to kneel down and admit his mistake to the main character. Not only Truong Pham but Lam Tai Tai was also scared by this situation and sat down on the ground. But I don't have the mood to argue with mad dogs, just let them go. Seeing these guys still sitting in one place, Nin's face darkened as he asked if they were waiting for him to invite them out for dinner or something. Being released, Truong Quang was so scared that he turned tail and ran away. Previously on the phone, this guy scolded the main character for not knowing if he was carrying a shield, so he immediately apologized for not knowing it was him. He generously said it was okay. It was just a small matter and no need to worry. Mr. Nin was a bit embarrassed because Lam Pham's generosity really made others admire him. After finishing everything, the main character opened the door to go home to meet his sister. The little girl saw her brother return quickly, stopped what she was doing and rushed towards him. Rubbing the head of cute Diep, he knew that he could win 2 billion in one game, so he naturally offended quite a few people. But even if the whole world is against you, what does it matter? You just want to protect this smile of your sister. The scene moves to the villa area selling the natural lake in Lang Tuyet Mountain. This is the house where the two brothers will live in the future. Because the location of the original rented room was not suitable for Deep to live in, he moved to this place. The girl knew the villa was definitely expensive and her family was dirt poor, so she said the accommodation was very good at first. Seeing my sister so understanding makes my heart ache and my nose sting. He told her that he had earned money and a villa was nothing. Deep did not expect that one day the two brothers would have such a good life. He pampered her, patted her head, and told her to go to sleep quickly so she could get better. Listening to her brother, Little Tun ran away. In this life, the main character has the strength to protect the person he cherishes. He wants this life to not leave any regrets. Time to move to next morning. He got up early to prepare breakfast that his sister liked best. After eating these sandwiches, cakes and fruits, the baby will probably be very happy. But first, you should go to school. Now, he is still a student at the Magic University of Medicine, and in this university, there are some objects that can help him level up his cultivation, so he is very interested. After walking for a while, the main character finally arrived at the gate of the Mardo Medical University. Suddenly, a bald man called and asked him to help him carry some things to the tutoring room. However, he refused, so this man was so angry that he couldn't remember and immediately turned to explain the philosophy of life. It was because he respected him that he asked him. Lam Pham didn't care, just turned around and left, ignoring the bald teacher. Normally, even the principal respects him, but he never expected that a student would dare to treat him like that. Unable to swallow his anger, the bald teacher used his hand to hold the main character's shoulder and threatened to transfer. If he didn't transfer, he had to transfer. If not, just wait to be expelled. He told him to let go, but the teacher not only let go, but also tried to hit his head. Lam Pham doesn't need to look to easily avoid touching anyone, but touching you is stupid, Grandpa. After the teacher's painful scream, he calmly left, while the other man lay unconscious on the kumquat branch. He must have just been interacted with by the main character. Within one step of the fake Tu Tien Loi, Tree passed and died, but he did not kill the bald teacher, which was already the biggest factor. He cried bitterly and could do nothing but lie there watching him leave. Lam Pham went straight to the faculty office. Oh, in his previous life, he took a leave of absence from school to deal with the money-hungry woman Lam Tay Tay. Thinking back now, it's really funny. Reborn again, of course, he wants to apply to go back to school. He went to see the head teacher. To be honest, I came to do the procedures to go back to school. The teacher was a bit surprised because Lam Pham had just asked for a temporary leave of absence from school, but after only a few days he had changed. Was about to bullshit the reason. The main was attracted by the noise outside the door. The bald teacher is back and more useless than ever with his hand bandaged. He went to complain to Headmaster Tran because students nowadays are too reckless. This kind of student must be expelled. The headmaster told the main character to go back first because he had some business to attend to, but he agreed to the main character's return to school. Just as he turned to leave, the bald man recognized him. He reflexively walked backwards with a face of fear, as if his father were about to die. But it seems like the main character doesn't even remember the teacher's face. I didn't think you would dare to come knocking on my door. This time, I'm determined to make you quit school. Looking at the two of them acting like cats and dogs, Headmaster Tran didn't understand anything. After a while of gossiping about all kinds of ostriches, the bald teacher concluded that he wanted to expel Lam Pham and send him to a youth reform school. The head teacher wanted the two to reconcile so that he would apologize to the teacher, and then this matter would be forgotten. But the main character thinks this kind of person is not worth his apology. The headmaster still wanted to stop him, but the other guy insisted that he get out of this school immediately. The headmaster sighed helplessly and made the decision to force the main character to stop studying for a year. Then give back your application from earlier. He slammed his hand on the table, making it break. The two teachers witnessed this scene and almost shit their pants. You tell Director Tran that you have not agreed to this result yet. He was furious that he dared to talk to the school authorities like that. While even the principal had to respect him somewhat, he was no better than bald. Just like this, they already said the main character is a violent and unruly person. But later, you will show them what real violence is. And now quickly bring your application to return to school to make up for it. The headmaster still strongly objected. He said you can't even hope to stay in this school for a day. But Lam Pham leisurely turned around and left. After going out and closing the door, made the two teachers stay behind, so angry they wanted to vomit blood. Main go out school gate. He didn't think this favor would be needed so quickly. The favor he was talking about was calling Mr. Nin a subordinate of Mr. Ngui for help. Scene transferred to principal's office. I don't know what this guy is playing with, but his face looks so cool, guys. The phone suddenly rang at the wrong time, making him lose his cool. Picked up the phone in a state of unbearable anger and cursed. But when he heard the voice of the person on the other end of the line, he immediately fell silent. He was extremely scared because he was talking to Boss Ngui. In the main classroom hallway, go straight to your class A. Just open the door. He saw the beauty by the window. That girl's name is Tu Truk. She was his first love. Unfortunately, in his previous life, he was possessed by a demon to betray such a good girl. Hearing Lam Pham calling her name, she turned her head to look. You appeared with a smile and said, "I'm back." Surprise mixed with joy. Tu Truc rushed to hug Crus after many days apart. He also hugged her tightly and patted her head. Thinking back to his previous life, Min felt more and more stupid like a dog. In this life, he would definitely make up for everything. But suddenly a young man came up and asked them what they were doing. They must have been fed dog food, so their mouths were full. According to his classmates, his name is Ku Hang Tin. Everyone in class knows that this guy likes Tu Truc. Now Lam Pham and Tu Truc are writhing around like this. It's no different than driving the whole planet crazy. He frowned and walked towards the two people standing. But when talking to Cruz, his attitude turned 390 degrees. He wanted her to go out and talk to him privately. But my love is standing here, so why do you have to go with him? If there's anything you can say it here. Gentleness did not work, so he slipped. Mun immediately switched to coercive methods. But before he could touch a single hair of Tu Truc, the main character waved his hand and pushed him away. Ku Hang Ting turned into a man of stone when he saw Lam Pham's recent actions. He gave him a loving look and a warning that Tu Truc was not a woman he could touch. This guy laughed like he was in trouble, saying that he had no right to talk here. I thought Ku Hang Ting was a lovesick boy, but he turned out to be crazy in love. Even Tu Truc was scared to death by his threats. Lam Pham stood in front to shield her and said some reassuring words. The other guy is still barking nonsense. But when he saw the main character's eyes wanting to castrate his bird, he stopped talking. He turned to challenge him to hit him. Lam Pham followed the earnest wish of the moon star and kicked straight at his profile picture. The kick was so powerful that the big guy flew from one end of the class to the other. The result is that it sticks to the wall like a lizard clings to glass. The tiger that doesn't roar thought Hello Kitty can't crow anymore, baby. He didn't expect Lam Pham to also be a martial artist. He almost had his arm crippled by him. I thought he was just lucky, but this guy still wants to rush to his death. When the main character actually walked towards him, he was scared pale and stammered to beg for forgiveness. But it was all just an act to fool the main character. Seeing an opportunity, Ku Hang Tin rushed forward with a fist called Bok Tin Quyen. The results are not clear, but everyone knows that this guy was beaten so badly that his parents couldn't recognize him. Lam Pham grabbed his head and kneed him like the Thai guys did when they played soccer with the Vietnamese team. He also kicked his two elbows, forcing him to kneel on the ground and groan in pain. Seeing that he had no intention of stopping tickling Hang Tin, he was now afraid and admitted defeat, but lived for thousands of years in the other world. Being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself, so Lam Pham still banged the podium on his head. Looking at this guy with his head down on the ground and his butt up in the air, he really doesn't know his own strength. Seeing Crus as a normal guy but now a hero saving a beauty, Tu Truc is a bit scared. Just punch someone's daughter and then turn to talk to a girl. The main character's face was so fresh it didn't need to be watered. While they were making love to each other, someone suddenly interrupted. It was the class monitor, Chung Chan Hien. Ku Hang Tin's parents are not easy to deal with, but because he is the class president, he cannot care about this matter. This guy forced the main character to apologize to Ku Hang Tin before he would let this go. If it was Lam Pham from before, it would be possible, but now that the author has buffed him, why worry? With a little girl vitamin in, the main character is much more excited. He just fought and chased the class president away. Seeing him not respecting his title as class president made this guy angry, but there was nothing he could do. He angrily turned around and left while the main character looked at him like he had epilepsy. Suddenly the classroom door opened, attracting the attention of the students in the class. Tan Tin, the director, came in and asked what happened. The class president couldn't fight back, so he told the teacher about the main character beating his classmate into a coma. But the teacher did not punish him immediately, but asked Lam Pham, "What's the matter?" He pretended to be innocent, but Chung Chan Hien pointed to Ku Hang Tin, who was beaten so badly that he couldn't even raise his head as evidence. "If you don't believe me, ask everyone in the class." The students in the class who were sitting still were also shot and were startled by the teacher's question. They looked at the main character timidly, but were scared by his loving eyes. The teacher thought this was just child's play and called the main character to her office to talk. Seeing him leave with a confused face made this guy so angry he vomited blood. Seeing him leave with a confused face made this guy so angry he vomited blood. The teacher was not informed, so this guy brought out his hot goods. He called the person named Bak Ka to tell him about the director taking Lam Pham to the office. Bak Ka calls himself Bak Huang, the leader of Ma Do Medical University, and only attacks young female teachers. He is Jack's successor. He got someone's daughter pregnant with 5 million, but the school naturally accepted it because this guy's family is on the main street, his father is an official, and the principal Tan Tin is his next target. At the teacher's office, the head teacher not only did not find fault with him, but also asked about Diep's sister's health. Main told her that the child was better and could go to school normally. I wonder why she was looking for me today. Tantin cares about the rosy cheeks. This is the situation I saw somewhere, the prospect of her falling head over heels, in love with our main character. After talking about 3 kingdoms for a while, she concluded that she wanted the main character to come home with her. I mean, live not live with my husband's family. Lam Pham remembered that in his previous life, Tan Tin also let him stay for a while, but in this life, he already had enough ability. Considering refusing, then the school bell rang. Shy girl, so she took the pile of documents and ran away. Before leaving, he did not forget to give the main character his home address. Before I could refuse, she left in a hurry. He planned to wait until the head teacher had time to tell her later. Lam Pham and Bak Ka passed each other, but neither of them knew about the other. He kicked open Tan Tin's room door and rushed in, but there was no one inside. But even so, he was still able to find the main character thanks to Hang in his pocket. Just wrinkle your face like a monkey's butt, and the rosary beads will fly around in the air like magic weapons. The pearls flew apart, and then reassembled to form the main character's portrait. After knowing his appearance, he said, "If you dare touch my woman, you will surely die, but Miss Tan is not his woman, and no one knows who died." After the white guy punched the wall, the buffalo seeds flew back to their owners. But he still didn't leave immediately, but continued to sniff the chair that Tan Tin used to sit on. Looking at this drooling expression, does anyone feel excited? After leaving the main office, go to the library. In his previous life, he had seen news in the school newspaper about a professor who researched and created special effective medicines. At that time, he didn't pay much attention to it, but now it seemed like it was something similar to a type of elixir used by cultivators. Now, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is quite thin, so cultivation is very slow. If the mysterious medicine in the academy can be found, it will be of great help to the main character's cultivation. I was thinking when I heard someone calling me. That is Tiu Truk. Coincidentally met the main character here, so she asked about the matter of the head teacher calling him to talk earlier. Lam Pham also did not dare to tell the truth that the teacher wanted him to come home with her. At this time, there are 2 ungrateful guys looking for the main character to cause trouble. They came here to avenge their gangster brother, Ku Hang Tin, who was beaten by the main character before. I think that guy was attacked by surprise, that's why he failed. Once these guys attack, they still fail as usual. This lazy guy has the illusion that he can defeat the main character with just one hand. Seeing 2 guys full of iron energy walking towards him, Tia Truk was scared and called Lam Pham. The shaver asked his name, but his hand wandered off. He intended to make the first move, but was caught by him. Just relying on one hand made his face pale as a frog's ass. The main character used a cold gaze with a warning, but talking to this guy was like pouring water on a duck's back. He is determined to see what you can do to him. This guy is a bully, but in front of the main character, he is just a joke. He leaned over and easily dodged, causing him to lose his balance and fall forward. He didn't expect his speed to be so dangerous. 1 punch and 1 tooth gone. Now I have to spend 3 million to get a denture. Not only that, her body was also punched and sent flying into the air like an unemployed ballerina. The main character turned his head to look at the other guy, making him tremble like a leaf. This guy applied Sun Tzu's art of war in 36 strategies. Running is the best strategy. He and another guy ran away without shaving. They didn't forget to set a date for a rematch with the main character. It's just a pity that the young man was interrupted while chatting with a girl. Only then did Tutruk ask why he had become so incredibly strong. The main character is Juan Tok Du, but she's pretty and not stupid. But she did not continue to ask, and changed the topic to asking him out to dinner. He refused because he had some work to do. He had to go find the headmaster Tan Tin. Krus looked sad, so he quickly changed the appointment to tomorrow. He is truly a master, not a poet. You also called Tiu Truk a great beauty, making her so embarrassed that she got angry and punched you. After saying goodbye to his uncle, the young man followed the address to his uncle's house. Hear the doorbell ring. Tantich was cooking and quickly ran out to open the door to invite Lam Pham to come in and have a drink. She told him to find a place to sit and eat immediately. Seeing her cooking, singing, and enjoying life reminded him of his previous life. At that time, only she was good to the main brothers. But suddenly one day she fell from the top of the Mao Dai Ha building. In the end, the police just treated it as a normal suicide case. This life, I will absolutely not let that kind of thing happen again. He was so lost in his memories that Tan Tin had to call him several times to bring him back to the present. He put that matter aside for now and went to the dinner table with her. During the meal, the teacher asked him how he had thought about her suggestion. The main character said he found a job, and because of his difficult circumstances, the boss arranged employee accommodation for him. She seemed a bit shy after being politely rejected, but still said she would help the main character when he was in trouble. The young man did not know that she had feelings for him, so he innocently agreed. Went to eat directly, but the young man didn't wash the dishes, but just soaked them in the tub. Really bored with young people. He was about to go home when Tan Tin wanted to see him off for a while. Consider it a way to help him digest a bit. The scene changes to a park with a garden of flowers and leaves, very fragrant and full of birdsong. Two people walking together in the park. Without noticing that in the bushes there was a resentful gaze watching him. Were chatting happily, but the rustling sound in the bushes made the main character discover something unusual. He sat down and picked up the stone, then replied directly. The stone hit the clump of thread, so the white guy had to hold his butt and jump out. The result is that he fell on the main character's feet, and Tan Tin probably has to wear 10 pairs of pants and still not be able to get over the humiliation. The headmaster was immediately frightened by his appearance. He turned his head to look at her with a face of, "I'm a castration," and Jack was 5 million. She did not have time to warn Lam Pham. The white song appeared before him, with a hand waiting to bite. Tan Tin was so scared that her legs went weak because she had implicated Krus. Bak Kar grabbed Lam Pham's neck and threatened her to crawl back and serve him comfortably, or he would let him go. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the main character holding the homeroom teacher's hand and pulling her away. Bak Kar was surprised and fell backwards, realizing that his hand was holding air and the main character, Lam Pham, had already escaped at some point. He was always confused. His head was full of question marks, probably before he joined the show. 100,000 questions. Why? Embarrassed, he jumped up and launched an attack from behind. I thought I would suspect a headshot that burned better than free fire, but that's fat. The main character only needs a wave of his hand to send this guy flying 1,000 miles away. He was hit by the counterattack, and his pillar of earth was bent, spilling enough blood to get rid of bad luck. This is the price of being too talkative and being banned from chatting by the main team. Bak Kar unexpectedly Lam Pham already had the power of the body refining realm. The entire medical university feared that no one would be his opponent. Black. The one who didn't provoke him but was still chased by the mad dog was him. Tan Tin felt worried after hearing the threats, but the main character reassured her. Bak Kar knew that he couldn't beat a cow to death, so he brought out the hot guy, the seed guy. Seeing him dripping some blood, the main character immediately knew that it was an extremely rare magic weapon belonging to a cultivator. The magic weapon blew out 3 demon faces, trying hard, but not very scary. They followed the white guy's orders and rushed to attack Lam Pham. He did not dodge, but let them pierce through his body. The other guy was drooling with pleasure because this attack hit the target. His magic weapon is called the 9 Ghosts Recitation. After the last hit, it turned back into a normal rosary that no longer glowed. This 9 Ghost Recitation was a birthday gift given to him by the Bakjia ancestor. Using blood to nourish can evoke the hidden demonic fire inside this white guy. Based on this move, countless body cultivation realm experts have gone to see naked chickens. He was sure that this was a good bet because he thought the main character was also one of the people with the power of the body training realm. But the last blow of the white guy of the low age was eaten by the main character. He couldn't believe he saw that he was unharmed. That demon face was crushed by Lam Fam's real body in the other world, like Tran Quoc Toan crushed an orange. This he dares to call a great move. It really makes others disappointed to the core. And still have the delusion of killing the soul of a daring immortal. This must be fried. He went crazy because he couldn't believe that the main character was still alive and grinning like a boiled dog after receiving one of his blows. He immediately flew up and delivered the finishing blow once more. It was true that the coffin had not yet fallen. Then Lam Fam let him broaden his knowledge a bit. He snapped his fingers. Blue air immediately appeared around his body. This is the power of this leg. Bak Ka had not yet determined what was happening when he was surrounded and attacked by them. He has run out of toys now, so he can only stand still and wait to die. The main character doesn't explain to him what to do, because someone who is about to die doesn't need to know too much. Just a snap of the fingers, a life ends. Powerless before the beggar's huge strength, even if he refuses, he will have to sell salt. How can he argue? The green gas just touched his body and caused it to burn fiercely. A moment later, the white song was burned down. The main character stopped in front of his magic weapon. He picked it up while Tan Tin was stunned and fell backwards, not understanding what kind of floral shorts they were. The main character secretly thought that on a planet with depleted spiritual energy, it's not easy to obtain a magic weapon. Although it's still a bit lacking, is it better to be deformed? He said goodbye to Headmaster Tan. She didn't need to see him off anymore. Looking at Cross's shadow leaving, she shouted, "Thank you." Now even she doesn't know what kind of person Lam Farm is. Main goes straight to his lake villa. When he entered the house, he was a little surprised because his sister had not gone to bed yet. "Here, brother, understand." Deep startled awake. The good girl hugged her teddy bear and waited for him to come home. He rubbed his sister's head and urged her to go to sleep. The little girl listened to her brother and went back to her room in a daze. I almost fell for it, making the main character scared to death. Luckily, I didn't have a heart attack, or else I would have died suddenly. I thought Dieppe had gone to sleep, but suddenly she stuck her head out and called her brother. She shyly asked if she could go to a class reunion next week. Before the younger sister could finish her sentence, Lam Farm already knew and smiled brightly, telling her to go if she wanted. This happy baby is jumping up and down. What is she sleeping about? Then the main character also went back to his room. He carefully observed the magic weapon chanting the 9 ghosts. When in his hand, it gives off a red-orange aura like fire. Sit and practice for a while. Suddenly Main opened his eyes. He clapped his hands, and after opening his palms, a green gas appeared like the one the white guy used. The thing immediately flew everywhere, but was blocked by the main character's barrier. Just as he thought this bead contains a spiritual energy, so Baikar, who has not yet started practicing Qi, can already use magic. The world of the immortal cultivator is divided into 9 great realms: Qi, refining foundation, establishment; Qi, condensation, void; movement, nirvana; immortal platform, shattered Tao; fusion and creation. 9 great realms. Great realms take the immortal platform realm as the hook from immortal platform. Down is mortal, from immortal platform up is immortal. The meaning of the immortal platform realm, as the name suggests, is to cultivate the 9th stage immortal platform in the body. The 1st stage, heavy heaven. The 9th stage, immortal platform, is completed. Heaven and earth are united, and the longevity is immortal, so the immortal platform realm is also called the immortal human realm. In his previous life, the main character was a famous immortal in the 3000 worlds. He used his great Taoist magic to defeat his opponents. He roamed the entire immortal world without ever being defeated. He was respectfully called the Heavenly Emperor by other immortal venerables, known as the first emperor of all time. But after the main character got the 9 Heavens Stone, was surrounded, attacked and robbed by other immortals. In the end, on the top of the immortal world, the main character can only fight 36 immortal venerables alone. A battle fought to the point that the heavenly law transformed and stained the 10,000 spirits with blood. In desperation, the main character unexpectedly transformed the great director's Tao law to the highest level of the realm. The great power caused other immortals to be pulled into his immortal kingdom. All 36 immortals were completely destroyed after that battle. Half of the immortal world turned into a dead end, and the main character fell into the heavenly punishment and turned into Lam Pham. This life the main character must practice each realm to the limit and then return to the immortal realm. The first step to rise up again is the spiritual energy in the 9 ghosts recitation. He cast a spell to suck the thing into his body. After a while of struggling, "Spirit and you become one." Suddenly Lam Pham opened his eyes wide. He finally entered the chi refining realm. In the previous life, the main character was busy dealing with other immortals, so he couldn't practice the cultivation method in the 9 heavens divine stone. This life he was determined to completely master it. While the older brother tightened his butt muscles and flexed his little ass, I didn't know what was going on, so I kept snoring. An hour later, Lam Pham was panting. He laughed excitedly like a fool who just played with something because this magic is so damn strong. With this magic, the world can be as free as the main character, like a function graph. At this moment in some space, an old man with long hair is practicing among a pile of white skulls and bones. Suddenly, a lot of blood came out of his mouth. While he was wondering what was happening to him, he realized that the aura of the spell had disappeared. That proved that the white song was dead. He was so angry that he had to kill the whole family of the man who sent his nephew to sell salt. This guy must be the disciple of the white bone spirit, so he only uses dry bones to cultivate. Bakkar was killed and his magic weapon was destroyed. If he does not avenge this, he vows not to be human. The next day at school, the main character was thinking about how his cultivation yesterday had increased his realm. But that guy is definitely not easy to deal with. Later, I'm afraid some annoying people will come looking for me. While thinking then, Tu Truc came. She asked how he was doing these days, seeing Lam Pham still as normal as a box of sugar and milk. The class monitor was very angry because neither Bakkar nor the homeroom teacher could do anything to him. The guy next to him was even more bitter than yesterday. They surrounded and captured the main character, but in the end he was acupressured by him and had to stand all night in the library. Just now he went to find Director Tran and was kicked out. The guy next to him was even more bitter than yesterday. They surrounded and captured the main character, but in the end he was acupressured by him and had to stand all night in the library. Just now he went to find Director Tran and was kicked out. Main character met this guy. Before he always bowed his head and bent his back when talking. Now he's popping like a hotcake. Main character met this guy. Before he always bowed his head and bent his back when talking. Now he's popping like a hotcake. Knowing that the main character is here, the class president can't approach Tu Truc, so the straw-headed guy comes up with a dirty plan. When she was alone, the class president jumped in and took advantage of her. At that time, she could only obediently be his woman. As Jack's half-brother Chung Chan Hien naturally agreed to follow this plan. Feeling that Lam Pham is an eyesore but can't directly do anything, he will sleep with his crus. Tu Truc, not knowing anything, sat and talked to the main character as usual. She mentioned the date from last time. The main character can forget everything, but not Vu, going to eat with a girl. He suggests going to Tu Truc's house to eat because her family runs a restaurant. She blushed when she heard that, but gradually turned to worry, because her parents had warned Lam Pham not to get close to her because he was too poor and not worthy of her. But now it's different, so now it's in a new position. Finally, the two of them still went to Tu Truc's restaurant. Hearing her daughter's voice, her mother happily returned home to celebrate the wine. But when she saw Lam Pham, her attitude changed 360 degrees. She frowned and pulled Tu Truc's hand to another place to talk. Before she told her to have less contact with the main character, but now she brought him home. She said they were just friends. Moreover, Lam Pham is a very good person. She made the excuse that this was for her daughter's own good, so she could only sigh helplessly. But she is getting more and more outrageous. It's worth saying that the main character is a good-for-nothing. Touch anyone but Crus and you're dead. I'm not afraid to fight with Mrs. Bow. While they were having fun, a loud noise attracted the attention of the mother and son and the main character. Three gangsters came out of nowhere on a motorbike and came straight into the shop, holding iron rods in their hands. I don't know if these guys are mute or not, but without saying anything, they rushed to destroy someone's shop. Tutruk's father was scared and negotiated with them to give him a few days because he had no money right now. The leader did not listen, but lifted him up and threatened his life. He begged Long that even if they took his life, they wouldn't get his money, so please give him a little more time. Seeing this scene, Tutruk and her mother were both scared but could do nothing. But that's why the two people attracted his attention. Seeing your wife and children, this guy wants to play for a few months and will give you a few days off. He shouted at the two men to run quickly. Long saw that grabbing the old man's neck would only be cumbersome, so he pushed him aside. In front of his castration mother stood up to shield Tutruk. Just reached out his dirty hand to initiate the match, but was stopped by the main character. If you dare to touch Krus, you will let them know what courtesy is. Kneel down and apologize, maybe you can spare his life. Tutruk's mother was shocked by her future son-in-law's dog-poking action. After escaping from the main character's control, Long asked him who the hell he was to dare talk to him like that. Lam Farm said he had no right to know how to make this guy laugh like an epileptic. He thought you were just showing off in front of him. Then this guy turned around and picked up the broken half of the beer bottle. He was furious and took that thing and rushed to play a fair game with the main character. The thug holding the broken wine bottle rushed towards Lam Pham and shouted, "Go die!" He glared murderously and swung his arm to smash the wine bottle, sending shards flying everywhere. He stared with bloodshot eyes in disbelief. What? Several pearl fragments shot back into his eyes and face. He held his head in pain and shouted in my face. Another guy was surprised, big brother. He closed his eyes in pain and ordered Sun K to execute that dog for me. The other guy heard the order and swung his fist at him. On hand also has iron ring with sharp spikes. Eat my punch. Tutruk's mother hugged Tutruk, not daring to look and scream. Tutruk's father shouted loudly, "Lam Farm." But surprisingly, the mountain chicken missed him and dust rose up everywhere. With just one finger, he blocked the spiked punch from the ring, but it couldn't penetrate his flesh. He stammered in disbelief. How could this be possible? Lam Pham flicked his glasses and they shattered. He was thrown away by him and fell backwards screaming. He just breathed out a sigh of relief and said he was an idiot. The scene was hazy due to the rising dust, but the scene of Lam Pham flicking the mountain chicken and falling down was still clearly visible. The gangster boss turned to look at him unconscious and exclaimed in surprise, "Sun K!" Tutruk in his mother's arms happily said, "Lam Pham is so good." Tutruk's third part encouraged the second part to fight very well. The boss muttered, "Dared to show off in front of me and still wanted to beat Mr. Than's people like this." His face was bleeding and the veins were standing out. "I have to kill you." He pulled out a gun from his jacket and pointed the barrel at Lam Pham. "Go die." A bullet fired from a gun. The bronze bullet whizzed towards him. He opened his eyes wide in surprise. Luckily his body reacted quickly and he leaned to avoid the bullet. Then gained momentum on the feet. He rushed towards him, one hand covering his mouth. "That guy's eyes are so wide open, he still can't understand who you are. I have traveled all over the world and have never heard of anyone dodging bullets." He coldly said, "Who I am is not important. You just need to know that standing in front of me is nothing but flies and mosquitoes." He squeezed his cheek hard and begged him to go easy. Thoi Lam Pham tilted his head and called out to the remaining two. He ordered to kneel down and apologize. The two thugs were afraid of Lam Pham's pressure and answered loudly, "Yes." Both of them knelt down at the same time. Kowtow to the family of Tutruk, sincerely apologize. I remind Uncle Tutruk that if you gamble again in the future, you won't be so lucky. He was also afraid of your strength and quickly agreed. Okay, I won't gamble anymore." He threw the gangster down. He glanced coldly and said, "Get lost. Don't come here again or else." He glared, threatening life hard to keep. The two thugs who were carrying their unconscious big brother ran away and replied, "Yes." At this moment, Tutruk's mother called Lam Pham. She thanked him. "You are our benefactor. We Tutruk know you. It is truly our family's blessing." He just sighed and did not answer. Lam Pham turned and left. "I'm leaving. You guys go on your own." Tiu Truk looked at his back and wondered, Lam Pham, who exactly are you? At the same time, outside the city, the sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the peaceful road seemed to have no effect on the recent incident. There are two figures walking on the roadside. Kan Hien was unhappy and said that young man dared to bring Lam Pham home. His classmates followed suit. If we didn't follow, we really wouldn't know. He suddenly gave an extremely cruel idea. Our boss, while they were doing it, rushed in and took a few pictures and used it to force her. If not, then post those pictures on video for everyone to see. He nodded his head in agreement. Kan Hien and his classmate were discussing when they suddenly saw a group of soldiers appear. One of them advised the boss to go slowly. You are surprised and a little happy, aren't you, big brother Vuong? When he saw me, he was a little surprised. Little Chung, what are you doing here? He started to introduce Tiu Truk to him long. I don't want to give you a stunning beauty. That's a beauty that's guaranteed to be several times more delicious than the one I introduced last time. He continued angrily, and as a result, a guy who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth took her away. King Big Brother seemed to recognize someone. He was sweating profusely and worriedly said, You're not the kid from the restaurant just now, are you? Another name more detailed than the white-haired kid. He excitedly replied, Yes, it is him. Who would have thought that Hien would be beaten by a thug? His face tilted. He fell down holding his face and groaning. He was angry and broke off relations with me. I don't know. You get lost. Then two thugs helped the boss leave. Let's go. He held one cheek confused. Did he take the wrong medicine? The classmate was panicking, the class president. The situation was not good. He angrily shouted something bad. He pointed to the figure of a familiar person walking towards him. That guy is Lam Pham. He grabbed Hien's shirt and ran quickly. He just snorted, You guys better run. Just then the phone in his pocket rang, and he was a little surprised. Lam Pham picked up the phone and Nin, what's the matter? Nin Vu told the story without hiding anything as he drove. I have a friend whose body has a strange disease that any domestic or foreign expert has diagnosed as never seen before, so I hope you can help. He suddenly treated the patient and wondered why he had asked for my help, having never revealed his medical skills before. He wondered why he felt I had the ability to help him. Nin Vu answered like that. Old Wei pointed out that he said you have great supernatural powers. Doctors suspected that it was a difficult disease and were helpless. He suddenly smiled and guessed the third person's intention. It turned out that Elder Wei wanted to test his depth. Then Lam Pham replied, If that's the case, I agree. Come pick me up. He nodded and came immediately. On the deserted road from afar, a black car was rushing towards. The car stopped in front of him. He came in and said, Come on. He looked at her through the back window and asked if he didn't need to bring any tools. He put his arm around me and nodded. No need to go. 10 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a villa with bodyguards on guard. A bodyguard welcomed the two of them in. Nin Vu led Lam Pham to the front door and walked this way. The two of them walked in and saw a doctor frantically tapping on the wires used to monitor another person's naked body. He realized something, wondering. That computer is a heart rate monitor showing the victim's heart rate. Nin Vu and Lam Pham stood outside the hospital room to see Mr. Kim's critical condition. Nin Vu asked him if he could see what the illness was. He slowly said something about a minor illness, and I'll go take a look. Seeing him enter a guy who seemed to be a doctor, shouted little Nin, Where did you get this guy with a runny nose and such a casual way of speaking? The doctor next to him also agreed. That's right, just relying on a brat like him. What right does he have to say it's a minor illness? I heard that. Although I was angry, I didn't want to argue. Still slowly walked towards the hospital bed. No matter what they say, you stop. Seeing Lam Pham coming closer, they blocked me. I told you to stop, do you hear me? Beyond endurance, he pushed him aside. He coldly said, Get out of the way. He scolded him for being entangled. Stand in front of the hospital bed to see the situation. Then he declared that if I was one step late, it would not be easy to save, but with the current problem, it was not a big deal. Then he immediately acted. The quack couldn't stop him and just told the young man to stop. He pressed acupuncture points on his body. The heart rate monitor suddenly beeped and then showed a long, straight line. At this time, Lam Pham also finished. He let out a breath. Seeing that Than shouted, Kim, Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim was murdered. The guards below were surprised to hear that. Then they ran up to the room together. All pointed their guns at Lam Pham and said, "Raise your hands." But he remained extremely calm. But before he could make a move, Ninvu stood there observing and saw something. He was so surprised that he couldn't say anything. Then there was a cough, cough, cough. Hearing the cough, everyone widened their eyes in surprise and turned towards the hospital bed. That's exactly Mr. Kim, who has woken up and is coughing, cough, cough. Next to the heart rate monitor started to jump waves. A doctor looked at him in surprise and mumbled, "How is this possible?" Mr. Kim's heart rate returned to normal. Lam Pham then let out a sigh. "You said it seems you don't have faith in me, then let it go." Then headed towards the door of this person's room. "This person has no fate with me. I won't save him anymore." But there was a voice calling him from behind. "Dr. Lam, please stop." "That's young Master Kim. He was panting just now. We were blind. Please, please, you must save my father." But he still refused. I said, "No, save." He heard that and knelt down. Bowing face down to the ground, Van begged Lam Pham, "Please save my father. The divine doctor just now is from the Kim family. I was blind and disrespectful to the divine doctor. If you want to blame someone, blame me." He cried and said that he would let the divine doctor handle me without a single word of resentment. I just pray for a miracle doctor to save my father. The two doctors who witnessed that scene were shocked and gaped. The young master actually knelt down in front of someone else. The number one noble in the capital actually knelt down in front of someone else. Lam Pham looked at him for a while, then exhaled and agreed to treat the disease. "Hayes, forget it, you're like that. I respect your filial piety. I won't argue with you anymore. Get up." He flicked his finger on Kim's forehead. Just then another doctor arrived. He was so flustered. "I'm sorry, I'm late." It was Luong Kwok Dong who opened the door and hurriedly asked how Mr. Kim was doing. The fake doctor's eyes lit up as if he had found gold as soon as he saw it. He said that Dr. Luong had finally arrived. He said he was pointing at Lam Pham. "Sir, look here, there's a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Just now, he almost cured Mr. Kim to death while treating an illness. He just glanced at that person and then stopped. Saw him stuttering, 'You are.' He quickly dropped the first aid kit and ran there. Kwok Dong took his hand and greeted him politely, as if he considered Lam Pham a senior. 'Master Lam has admired Dai Dan for a long time. I am Luong Kwok Dong. Being able to meet Master Lam here is my luck.' The other two, seeing his admiration for him, gasped in surprise a second time. But it seems Lam Pham has not realized that his brother suspects him. Hearing that, he immediately introduced himself as Luong Kwok Dong Ngui, the old man who introduced you to me. He heard that and nodded, so it turns out he is dangerous, he said and rolled up his sleeves. "Okay, back to the main issue," Lam Pham said to Luong Kwok Dong. "I will start saving people now. Come here and help me." He immediately followed suit. Suddenly he stopped. "Oh, right." At the same time, he turned back and sarcastically said to the other two guys, "Quickly invite your quack friend out." The two bodyguards heard the order and immediately responded with a yes, went forward and pulled the silver-haired man and the blonde-haired man out. The man was startled and stammered, waiting a moment. Before he could finish his sentence, there was a loud bang. The two of them were kicked away and quickly cried out, "Ouch!" Lam Pham stood in front of the hospital bed, turned around and told Kim Teojia Bao that other unrelated people should also leave, and he immediately agreed. He waved his hand to signal the bodyguard to bow his head and receive the order. The door was slammed shut. Lam Pham turned to the country and said, "Let's go." He started his hand and looked at Mr. Kim lying on the hospital bed and asked Mr. Kwok to help him press firmly on his Ku Kuyet and Chuang Mon acupoints. He then responded. He used one hand to press on the Bok acupoint and the other hand to press on the remaining acupoint. At that moment he shouted loudly and clenched his fist, hitting the old man straight in the chest. The blow made him vomit blood, his eyes widened and he coughed. His body shook crazily, he was scared and cried out. Dr. Lam looked at Mr. Kim. It seemed like something was not quite right. His hands began to shake and he stammered, hand, I can't hold it any longer." He shouted quickly, "Don't be distracted, hold on tight." A loud bang sounded. A force was pushed into his body. Immediately black smoke flew out of his mouth. His eyes were bloodshot and he coughed. "Now is the time to let go," he shouted. He immediately let go of his hand and his body jerked up. A white light stream escaped from his body and flew up high. Whoosh, his body flew up and was enveloped in purple-blue light. The country was shocked. Dr. Lam, this is it. He looked at the smoke in front of him and coldly said that this was evil energy entering Mr. Kim's body. Mr. Kim's illness was also caused by it. Now the evil spirit has been dispelled. Mr. Kim is fine. Please rest assured. He closed his eyes, exhausted. You frown. He opened his eyes and saw young Master Kim crying and calling out Dad. Kwok Dong also smiled and looked at the old man calling out to Kim Ni. He ran to hug him and cried, saying, Dad, you're finally awake. This is great. He still doesn't know what happened, so he asked Kim Ni gently. He turned to look at him and asked, Is this divine doctor, the one who saved me? He quickly said, No, Mr. Kim. This great Master Lam saved you. I was just helping a little. He pointed at him. His eyes filled with tears. Benefactor. I, Kim Bak Van, thank you for saving my life and will never forget it. In the future, if there is anything you need me for, just tell me. He smiled and replied, Okay, Mr. Kim, how do you feel now? He raised his hand happily and said he felt much better, just a little sore in the waist and back. Young Master Kim quickly showed him the gold card and said with a smile, This card has 1 billion in it. I hope you will accept it. Everyone behind, when hearing the amount, immediately opened their eyes in surprise and stammered 1 billion. He quickly waved his hand and replied, No need. He closed his eyes and continued, Money is useless to me. I only have Thu Lin Thao or magic weapons. If you have any news about these things, please tell me. His eyes flashed with spirit. He quickly said to Master Lam, There was an auction of magical artifacts that invited me to participate, but I missed it because of illness. He asked with interest, Oh, tell me more. Specifically how he looked at him and asked. He recalled that he spoke in detail, so I don't know clearly, but I heard that the Feng Shui Masters of the North, the highly qualified Dong Huang, will also participate. Ninvu stood behind and said in surprise, The Eastern Emperor is actually him. He glanced and asked who it was. He remembered the appearance of Mr. Speak. It is said that this Dong Huang person really has great magical powers and is a great person of the time. According to the words, this person is Hai Hiep, a very famous Feng Shui master. He paused for a moment and continued. He had changed the fortunes of the Lijia Bao family on the island, causing it to go from the brink of bankruptcy to death and rebirth. He curled his lips a bit interestingly, then he turned to Mr. Asked when the auction would start. He quickly said, I will pay attention. Once the time comes, I will immediately notify you. Then he looked at him with a sincere expression and continued, Master Lam. Today I survived a great disaster and was very happy. Tonight we will hold a celebratory party at the Huang Trio restaurant. At that time, we will invite a few old friends. You are my life-saving benefactor. I ask Master Lam to attend. He waved his hand and turned away, refusing. I still have something to do today, so I'll go first. Ninvu also stepped forward and bowed, saying, Mr. Kim, we will take our leave first. He smiled and nodded. Okay, then you two be careful. The two of them walked out of the villa together. Ninvu put his hand on his chest and bowed towards him, saying, Thank you, Master Lam, for your help. Another day I will bring a big gift to thank you. He lightly replied, No need, you can go. He nodded, okay? Lam Pham An opened the door and walked in. As soon as he stepped in, he shouted, I'm back. Before he could finish his sentence, his eyes widened in surprise. The little girl ran over, smiling happy that her brother was back. He smiled, thinking to himself that this girl has grown up. He walked over and rubbed the little girl's head, smiling and saying, That's right, didn't you want to eat? What are you doing? Didn't you come back already? Immediately go to work. The little girl puffed her cheeks and said, Big brother, did you forget something? My heart jumped, a forehead started to sweat. What happened? I'm angry at you, Brother Hai. Tonight I want to join a gathering with my classmates. I told you, did you forget? He rubbed his head and smiled, right, he forgot. The little girl clenched her hands and resolutely said, Come with me, otherwise I will be pitiful at home alone. If you go with me, I will respond. The little girl jumped up happily. Yes, brother is the best. Right now on the street. A fast car. Dat Luan. He just drank beer. Driving car. Laughing loudly. Ha ha ha. A group of 3 of them drank beer and shouted. Tu Khan sat behind and loudly said, When are we going to the royal restaurant? He smiled and replied, Don't you still have a friend, Lam Hu Deep? Let's go pick her up first. He curled his lips in disdain. She's just a girl from a poor neighborhood. Why does she have to participate? He just smiled lightly and said, "Anyway, we're classmates. If there's any activity, we should participate together." Remembering her pure appearance, his eyes curled up into a sinister smile, thinking to himself, "Such a beautiful girl is a natural gem that I must personally discover." When he got to Deep's house, he stopped the car. Standing in front of the large house, Freckled Face was surprised and opened his mouth to make a sound. He was also surprised and asked again, "Toucan, you said the place where Lam Hugh Deep lives is a place like this." She was also surprised and stammered that the address she gave me was in this place, but the villa area. A door creaked open and a pair of slender legs stepped out. The two Lam brothers went. Lam Fam's face was gentle. He tilted his head and said to his sister, "Then, let's get ready to go." She waved her hand and he closed his eyes, smiled and replied, "Yes." Seeing the two of them, she covered her mouth and laughed contemptuously. "Look, that's Lam Hugh Deep next to her poor brother." Hearing others bad-mouthing his little brother, he got angry and glared. She put her hands on the car and said loudly, "Why did you come to this place? It's the villa area." The little girl replied unhappily, "This is my house. My second brother and I have moved here." Her face was full of disdain and disbelief. She said, "Oh, don't tell me that a few days ago you were in the slums and suddenly won the lottery and bought a villa." The little girl stuck her tongue out at her. "I don't need to buy a lottery ticket. I have a brother." He opened his mouth to advise Toucan. He turned to him and gently said, "I'm sorry, I'm in Toucan's older brother here, okay? Let me answer," he continued. "I heard that this villa is worth several million. I really admire you." He kept his fake face and continued, "Yes, we all drove to the restaurant. Your car is not in a place like this. You probably wouldn't have your own car, right?" He just closed his eyes and calmly replied, "Just like that, can we go or not?" She angrily yelled at him. He pretended to smile and said to Toucan, "Don't be naughty, you two get in the car." The car door slammed shut and the car sped forward. Huang Trio restaurant security guards standing solemnly in front of the door. He stopped the car and got out. The crowd also followed. "Nein nha, hang sang trong truak mat tham jan gia, nha, hang nine hin kovekong toi sao truak kia min kong, bia do you have a place like this?" The security guard saw the person coming down and immediately went up to greet Mr. Tran and invited him in. He gave the security guard the secret signal with his eyes. He immediately raised his hand to stop the two Lam brothers. "Mister, please, wait a moment." The guy said with a serious face, "This is a high-class restaurant. Please take out your ID card." He confusedly pointed to the other person and said that we came together. He laughed evilly. The guy pointed and laughed contemptuously. It turned out that Tung's entourage followed young Master Tran in. His face darkened and he said nothing. He looked at his back and cursed in his heart that this brat would make things difficult for him everywhere if today wasn't Hugh Diep's day, haha. Group of people walking into the restaurant. Just as he stepped into the hall, a familiar figure passed him by. He turned his head to look back, his eyes wide open. He looked closely at the girl, determined to be a bamboo shoot. Seeing little Seven God pulling his hand and saying, "Big brother, what are you doing? Let's go quickly." He looked at her back. She replied, "Yes, okay." Luxury room door. He smiled and said, "We are here." He pushed the door open, directed everyone in the room to speak up. "Sorry, we're late." The curly-haired guy raised the cup in his hand and said with a smile, "Oh, I've been waiting for you for a long time." The black-haired guy next to him also raised his hand and said, "Sit down." QQ saw that it was her friend and waved to call out. Hugh Diep looked towards the person calling her and happily said, "QQ." The little boy immediately ran to sit down next to her. She asked, "Is this your brother? Why are you so handsome?" The little boy smiled shyly and asked for advice. Upon receiving the compliment, he happily smiled. Toucan raised the glass of wine in his hand, his eyes full of contempt, and said, What's the use of being handsome?" He immediately spoke up to advise Toucan to pay attention. She pouted and replied, "Humph." Then he took the glass of wine from Stand Up Everyone. He raised his hand and made a loud clinking gesture saying, "I'll buy everyone a drink to thank you for taking care of my sister." Everyone in the room enthusiastically drained their glasses while he sat silently. Looking at his image in the glass, he suddenly laughed out loud. He frowned and asked what he was laughing at. He smiled calmly and replied, "It's okay, continue." The little girl was a bit embarrassed and handed the glass of wine in her hand to him, saying, "Brother, I don't know how to drink." Hearing that, she angrily shouted, "What do you mean, Lamdeep? Don't you care about everyone's face?" The girl turned her head and glared at her. "Yeah, I didn't say I wouldn't drink." He closed his eyes and laughed, saying, "Haha. Although it is said to be wine, it is actually a fruit juice with almost no alcohol content. You can drink it with peace of mind." He held up his finger and smiled lightly. "It's okay, I understand. Just like that, you can drink it." Ding sound, the wine glass in the small hand changed color. His face darkened in anger. He grabbed Lai. This Tran Dat Luan guy really had no good intentions. He was drugged with alcohol. It seemed like this classmate gathering wasn't that simple. His eyes were cold and his mouth twitched, but the anesthetic alone had no effect on me. "Let me see how I can deal with you." He picked up the cup and drank it all in one gulp. Deep also imitated him drinking. Seeing that the girl had drunk the drugged wine, his mouth slowly curled up and he snorted. "I succeeded." He smiled in his heart. At this moment, a group of thugs entered the door and said that Mr. Tran was our lucky star. The fat guy behind smiled evilly and said that inside there were 10 very beautiful young ladies. The handsome guy poked his head forward, licked his lips, and smiled wickedly, especially that girl Lam Hiu Diep. If she would agree to be my girlfriend, that would be great. The fat guy quickly interrupted. Hey, don't think anymore, that's the girl that Mr. Tran likes." Back in the private room, he was still standing there holding up his glass of wine. Everyone kept drinking the curly hair guy until his head was buzzing and he couldn't speak anymore. He looked at her and whispered, "I understand, Diep. Wait a moment. Let's pretend to drink the smoothie together." Her face turned a little red and she answered, "Yes." "Oh, my head is so dizzy." He started rubbing his head, pretending to be dizzy, saying it seems like he drank too much. The girl also started acting like, "Brother, I drank too much, huh?" Both of them fell on the table. Thinking the plan had succeeded, he smiled wickedly. She stood up a little uncomfortable and said, "This is the last time I'll help you do this kind of thing." He smiled at her and said, "Don't worry, Tu Khan." He shook the glass of wine in his hand and smiled gently, saying that after finishing this, he would do the immigration procedures for you. She was happy. "Thank you, brother." Clap, clap, he clapped his hands loudly. Next, the door was pushed open. The thugs walked in. The leader pushed the door open and walked in laughing loudly and saying, "Brother Tran, you've kept us waiting for a long time." He pointed at the girl who had collapsed next to him and said, "Look, guys," then pointed to another girl in the room and said with satisfaction that everyone was drunk. His eyes were sinister, his mouth curled up, and we began. Seeing that Diep had collapsed on the ground, he immediately laughed wickedly. He approached the girl and said, "Let me do it." Dat Luan reached out to touch Hiu Deep, but before he could touch it, Lam Pham grabbed his wrist. He was bewildered. He glared and opened his mouth to warn Dat Luan. He asked if he wanted to touch my sister, should he ask my opinion first. Lam Pham continued to question. "I had seen that you were not simple, but I didn't expect you to be such a beast. This kind of thing isn't the first time you've done it, right?" He stuttered and asked, "Are you okay?" Dat Luan, run rei hoang hot, keo len jiu nai kong, the nao toi, ja ja tan mat thai an wong roi. Dat Luan trembled and panicked, shouting, "This is impossible. I saw him drink it with my own eyes." As soon as he finished speaking, Diep stood up and shouted, "You guys are so disgusting." She was very disappointed. Choked up and said, "I consider you guys as friends, but you guys looked at Tue Khan, who was stunned opposite." The little girl continued, "I really looked at the wrong person." Dat Luan tried to escape and immediately scolded the brat. I looked down on him. He stepped back to his brothers and said, "But even if I wasn't in a coma, what would happen?" Seeing that the plan had been exposed, he shouted, "If you wake up, it's even better. I will bully your sister in front of you." Eyes twitched and bloodshot, he said the words, "I really want to see what expression you will have," and then he smiled sickly. "I don't know how Lam Pham cracked my knuckles to warn me, but I know you will have an expression of living a life worse than death. Tell the brothers to come up to me." They all swung their fists and rushed towards him. Lam Pham did not flinch and instructed Hiu Deep to cover his eyes and obediently obey. Deep obediently closed his eyes and even covered them with his hands so he couldn't see anything. Two of Dat Luan's underlings, a guy with a bald head and a guy with blue hair, immediately rushed towards Lam Pham. The guy with a bald head shouted, "Go die!" Lam Pham turned his foot and stomped on the ground. He was ready to attack, waiting for them to attack. He really didn't know his own strength. Those words touched one of them. The fat man got angry and scolded the person who didn't know his own strength. But before he could finish his sentence, he received a punch from Lam Pham. Then came the punches thrown at incredible speed. Just like that, the three juniors of Dat Luan continuously moved forward, unable to react in time. They could only take each blow from Tu Lam Pham. The last punch came down. The guy with the blue hair was knocked away and both of their faces turned red. Seeing that his juniors were so numerous that they were still easily defeated, Dat Luan's face turned pale. He panicked and stepped aside, stammering and pretending not to hear. His voice was trembling. His eyes were filled with fear. He looked deeply at Lam Pham and stammered, "What the hell is it?" Before Dat Luan could finish his sentence, a sudden attack from Lam Pham made him stunned and his eyes rolled back. The fatal kick right between the legs made Dat Luan's whole body tremble. Lam Pham kept his position, the corner of his lips slightly raised, looking at him and smiling. Just then a loud scream rang out in the room. Dat Luan fell to the floor and kept rolling around, holding the place he had just been kicked, with both hands shouting loudly, "You dare kick me! You dare kick me!" Lam Pham didn't hesitate and stomped his foot on Dat Luan's head. He coldly smiled at him and said, "Don't you like to play with girls? Then I will make you become a woman to experience the feelings of a woman." Finished speaking, another kick straight down to the same position. The previous pain had not yet passed, but the new pain came again. Dat Luan jumped up, holding the painful spot tightly with both hands. Tears flowed out, unable to hold back. His screams pierced the sky and rang out continuously. Dat Luan's face darkened. His whole body fell to the floor. His two hands hugged the middle of his legs, and he finished Dat Luan. Lam Pham glanced at Tua Khan, his voice low and threatening. "How should I deal with the people involved in this being defeated?" made Tu Khan panic and stammer, Wait. Tua Khan's face paled, her voice trembling as she begged me. I was forced. It was all your fault. It wasn't all. Tran Dat Luan forcing me. I begged him to let me follow. I'll be your little sister. You can do anything." Lam Pham said in a low voice. At such a young age and so vicious, her money is limitless. He walked past Tu Khan and continued to say, "It's just a pity that if I were a person from an evil sect, I would be happy to accept you as a disciple." Finished speaking, Lam Pham hit Tu Khan hard on the shoulder. Khan immediately fell to the ground and fainted. After finishing everything, Lam Pham took out his phone and called Nin Vu. "Tio Nin, I'm at Huang Trio restaurant, come over here for a bit." Nin Vu received the news and quickly replied that the Huang Trio restaurant would come immediately. Lam Pham went ahead and told Hieu Diep, "Let's go." Hieu Diep obediently answered yes. Diep's eyes were sparkling, her cheeks were red. She grabbed her brother's sleeve and asked him in a low voice, "Why are they so mean?" She clearly considered them friends. Lam Pham held the little hand. His voice lowered, understanding Diep. "You must clearly remember that people have good and evil." Understanding Diep, bewildered, did not understand everything he said softly, repeating the two words, "Just now, good and evil." Lam Pham looked forward and continued, "They were probably born bad people." Hearing that, Diep suddenly became happy and innocently smiled and said, "You must be born a good person." Hieu Diep's innocent words made Lam Pham look at her in disbelief. He bowed his head and asked himself in a low voice if he was a good person. The question has no answer. The path I'm on now has many dark spots, but in the middle of them there is a small section that is brighter than ever. Standing in front of the restaurant, Diep held his brother's arm. Both of them stood there waiting. Lam Pham looked at the familiar figure before his eyes slightly surprised. Truk too. Meanwhile, Tu Truk did not know that someone was watching him. Huang Mang left. Lam Pham still watched and wondered what was wrong with Truk too. Seeing her brother suddenly standing there, Diep curiously asked her brother what was wrong. Ignoring Tu Truk anymore, Lam Pham looked down and understood. Diep An replied, "It's okay, let's go." The two quickly left the restaurant. On the way, Lam Pham said, "Go home and make some delicious food for me." Diep happily replied, "Yes, sir."